Charles, I think you know I am loath to make predictions, but I feel confident in asserting that you will not be aggregating public FAA data in a customized software interface to reveal the location of a billionaire, will you?
That's so 2019.
Yeah.
No.
I knew you wouldn't do that.
Yeah. Well, before we get there, I want to pull an Admiral Stockdale on you.
Who?
Ross Perot's running mate, who famously in the debate said, "What am I doing here? What am I doing here? I thought I was in less issues. How did I get here?"
Are we sure that wasn't Joe Biden who said that?
Oh, I'm sure he will be saying that. That'll be his, Gettysburg Address. His cheeseburger address. I mean,
exactly.
If
the
he's lucky.
Burger.
Get his burger address. So yeah, here
Welcome
we are.
back, Charles. People are going to be excited to see you in the flesh, in the park, with a bicycle that's not supposed to be here.
Yeah, that's life.
Oh,
and this guy.
Is that Sting?
He is the winner of America's Got No Talent 2022.
Wow.
This guy's seriously
He's scaring the dogs.
Let's go to the right. I don't want to engage with this guy. But you don't know how to sing.
A good lyricist.
Yeah, you actually don't know how to sing or dress, but that's impressive. Come on out to the public. I'm sure that you got a great, bright future ahead of you. So before we get too deeply into the plane spotting and to thanking the art department and you for all the great work that you do, I just would like to give a report on my trip.
Yes,
and
people are excited to see you.
Thanks to the viewers for being patient. I basically didn't go to any of the countries that I think we discussed, bar one.
You mean you weren't in Decatur?
I wasn't in Decatur, I wasn't in Mauritius or Mauritius or the Maldives, or whatever, or the Endives. I started out in Istanbul, and I'd never been to Turkey before. Of course, I live here with a whole bunch of turkeys.
Were you there for Thanksgiving?
I was not.
That's too bad.
I was in another place I'll tell you about in a second. But I have to say, these morons who go around talking about make America great again.
Yeah.
Right? And I use the phrase moron advisedly. I think what we need to do first is make America livable again.
Yeah.
I mean, this place is going downhill so fast. And in comparison, even Turkey.
Just soak that in for a second, Charles. Dali-esque. The stilts on the tree. So even in Turkey.
I mean, Turkey, right almost immediately before I took off, there was a pretty bad terrorist attack in Turkey.
What? Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah, and
I remember thinking, this is great. Charles is going
great
to Turkey.
timing. Well,
yeah.
Well, I actually thought it was good timing because it's much better to have the terrorist attack occur before you get there than while you're there or after.
It's true.
And so I just want to report that I flew on Turkish Airlines. And
Did
kudos,
you serve Turkey?
kudos to Turkish Airlines. It really was a very pleasant 9-hour flight, which I can't say about most 9-hour flights. The service was great. It was on time. And then, surprise, surprise, we get to Istanbul Airport and it's gleaming. It's spotless. Everything works perfectly. And the process of getting you need a visa. Here's a guy not looking.
Oh wow.
He's the elf who stole it. Let's get well away from him.
I was about to get hit by a car.
I know. I just don't want to get hit by a limb. It's Joe Biden's the smartest person Joe Biden knows.
Exactly.
So we land and the plane goes direct to the gate. The gate, and everything is spotless. We are whisked, the line moves very quickly through immigration. It's a country where you need to have a visa. So I had printed mine out in physical hard copy in case there was an issue. And they just take my passport. I said, "You need to see my visa." "No, sir." Through in 15 seconds. A bag comes immediately. I checked one bag foolishly. And just the contrast between Istanbul Airport, forget the city of Istanbul, and New York City, it's just stunning. I mean, any one of these people who want to talk about New York City is the greatest city in the world.
Not anymore.
They need to go on an extensive trip. Yeah, exactly. Okay, there's somebody in there.
Yeah, he's smoking crack or something.
They need to go on these.
Did you hear him coughing?
Yeah, I did. They need to go on trips to these various other countries that we used to laugh about how bad Turkey was. In fact, 20 plus years ago, I was on the board of an Irish company, and the situation in Turkey was so bad that there was a legitimate way to denominate a loan to an officer in Turkish lira and insist that the officer repaid the loan in Turkish lira. And they were relatively certain that the lira would devalue by an enormous amount over the life of the loan. And through a quirk in Irish tax law at the time, you wouldn't have to pay income tax on the gain that you got because the loan diminished in value. But anyway, Turkey was a wreck historically. I think it has a share of issues, but it's on the uptick. What I saw was just bustling in the cold when I got there in November, and then just on the way back also it was reasonably cold, but still the streets were filled, the cars were moving, there was no graffiti, there were no BLM riots.
Did you visit Erdogan's giant
I did not.
mega palace?
But I did go to, I had a very nice time there on the way out. I went to a bunch of museums and nice restaurants, and I would happily go back. There's a lot to explore in Turkey. I'm going to try to go there in the summer at one point. But
this is new.
Cha-cha.
Is it tea?
Sounds like it. So from there, I got on a plane on Emirates, and I went to Dubai, and from there I went to Bangkok. And
380? Airbus.
One was a 380, I think. I forget which
double decker?
Yeah, one was a double decker and one wasn't. I think the one to Bangkok was a double decker, and the one.
So was that your first ride on an Airbus 380?
I'd been on a 380 before, and I'd also been. I actually flew first class on the 380 once.
Nice. Did you take a shower on it?
I did.
That's awesome.
Alone, sadly. I should
pay
say
extra.
thankfully, every day, because you say you're going to shower with somebody, and then they say, well, here comes a sumo wrestler in here.
They got to sit on the right side of the plane or we can't take off. But when I did Daydreams in Dubai, I flew on the 380, and I was not in first class, but when the flight ended, they let me walk up. I was in business class, they let me walk up and check it out. The shower on the plane is as large as it would be at like your health club or something.
And the service, I was on it in June of 2012, and the service back then I had to tell them to leave me alone, actually.
Look at all this out of business here.
This is progress, Jason.
Yeah, I
it's
know.
reducing the carbon footprint of New York. So I went from there to Bangkok. I just relaxed 2 nights in. It's kind of not a great hotel, but not a horrible one either. That was on some river. It's a Sheraton, was a Royal Orchid Sheraton or something like that. And across the way, there was this shopping mall called Icon Siam. And I hate shopping, but I wanted to do something that was relatively painless. And there was a ferry across the river for free, like 2-minute ferry. So, fuck it, I'll go across the river. I go into this mall, and super high-end mall. Cartier, Gucci, car dealerships with cars in the mall on like the 5th floor.
Wow.
This gigantic
mall. How the hell did they get them up there?
And it really, you look at that and contrast that with this streetscape here. This used to be 100 years ago. This is the cat's meow. This is where
sprawling metropolis of the world.
And over in Bangkok, not in the center of Bangkok where I was, this mall, first of all, you could eat off the floor.
Well, you could do that here too, but you'd get sick as hell.
Yeah.
You think these people are watching Avatar too?
Yeah, that's the new diet treatment. Right? Come to New York City and eat off the sidewalk. You'll lose about 20 pounds the hard way, but quickly.
Nice car, Charles.
There you go. So, from there I went to this town, which most people, I would have called it Phuket. But when you get there, you learn it's called Phuket.
Oh.
P-H-U-K.
I thought it was called something else.
Fuck it. But, and that I have to say, the beach was a nice horseshoe beach. I was on something called Patpong Beach or something, or Patong Beach, I forget what. And it was nice enough. It was rained a little bit. I wanted to see Thailand in the rainy season to see how bad it was. And
It's like a tsunami.
well, it can be, but it wasn't when I was there. And so that was fun. I was there for a week, and then I went from there to Langkawi, which is a beautiful, smaller town in Malaysia. It's a series of islands, technically, and I stayed in this hotel. I want to give them credit, called the Westin Langkawi. And I mean, I've been to a lot of nice hotels in my life. Kapalua Bay used to be fantastic in Hawaii. I don't know if it still is, but this is sort of like Kapalua Bay, and up, beautiful vistas and every conceivable amenity and all this kind of stuff. But the important difference being the room rate wasn't high, and the extras were, they didn't rape you the way they do in American luxury hotels. So you go for breakfast at the St. Regis in New York, you'll pay $100.
Well, the new thing in Vegas is that they charge you like, $40 for the hotel room, and then there's a $129 resort fee. And It's like, wait a minute.
Right.
What is that?
Yeah, we're
It's not even looking at you. Relax. Fucking asshole.
Oh, he's very important.
I know. He's like, stop recording.
He said that to you?
Yes.
Watch it.
It's not even looking at him.
He's an idiot. Idiot on parade. But so the Westin Langkawi, wonderful. From there, I went to a town I really wanted to visit, and I wasn't disappointed, called Penang.
Oh yeah.
In Malawi, and not Malawi, in Malaysia. Give me to sound like Biden's foreign secretary or whatever. But pleased to be here in Malawi. You're in Malaysia, Joe.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. I'm with you in spirit. Anyway, in Penang, I stayed at this place called the Eastern and Oriental Hotel, which was originally built in 1885.
Wow.
And they did a series of gut rehabs, and it's remarkable, this place. I mean, really remarkable place for it's not a beach place. They have a pool. It's on the water, but it's on the water in a port, a very busy port. So it's, you wouldn't really want to go swimming in the water, but like swimming in, the Hudson River.
Yeah.
But the service, the quality of the food, and again, the cost, it was not that expensive. So I spent 5 days there, and then I went to Koh Samui in Thailand.
Cullen was consulting on that.
Yeah, it was nice. Again, it rained actually every day, and some days the whole day, but it was warm. So
what is falling right now? Is this snow?
Probably ash.
Yeah,
Could be snow.
It's not.
I don't think it's cold enough to be snow.
That's not snow. It's soap. It's bubbles.
Yeah, from
somebody's doing something
bubble
soapy
over there. Maybe, I don't know.
Oh, look, we have a
art
flea market or something.
Yeah. No, this is progress.
So Koh Samui.
Koh Samui. I was a little disappointed with the beach. Yeah, I wasn't overly impressed. But again, maybe I was because it was overcast, so I didn't see the kind of water that I'd hoped for.
When I was there.
Yeah, I want to go back, and I saw a lot of nice real estate, but it's not cheap. Someone we know had recommended this place called Samujana, which I went to, and they were delighted to show me real estate that was, the cheapest one was 1.3 million US, and I saw one for 2.8 that would make Hugh Hefner blush. I mean, it was like this incredible.
Better only get 2 of those.
Yeah, so I got 6 of them.
Yeah.
No, but then I looked at I didn't want to be a complete jerk in the first meeting with a real estate person, so I just said, well, out of curiosity, you show me a couple of properties for sale. How many are in the development? 30. And then they gave me a list of all the ones for sale. 9 of 30 are for sale. And after I left and on the flight coming back, there was, I think, accurate reporting that experts expect the Asia property market to decline generally by 5 to 20%. I think we understand why.
Yeah.
So with that, I went quickly back to Bangkok, stayed in another nice hotel, the Le Méridien in Bangkok, which I couldn't recommend more. I mean, it's a very nice place.
Happy Hanukkah, Charles.
And to you, Jason. Isn't it pronounced Chinooka?
I think, no.
I know. It's
But
like
today,
me nearby, where when I was a kid, I used to walk by this place and I'd come back. I saw this really interesting store, Mom. What's that, Charles? It's got all this old stuff in it, like old tables and chairs and things like that, and
antiques.
And well, I said, well, what's the name of the store? I know, it says something like the Antique store. So that's School of Antique on Chinooka.
Yeah.
But so the Meridian was very, very nice. A good place, good, comfortable place to stop and base yourself if you're in Bangkok. Us more in the central business area. But lots of nice shopping and sites nearby.
Now, what do you think of this art, Charles?
It looks to me like copies of camera advertisements, or
The reason it catches my eye.
that or that.
Well, the cameras are interesting,
But you're talking about that.
but I'm talking about this over
That's
here.
more interesting.
The
Let's look at it.
reason this caught my eye is that I have just been exploring AI, and I don't want to distract from your discussion
Okay.
of the trip.
We'll get back to it.
But we'll talk about AI because it's this chat, GPT, and some other things that are happening. There are real breakthroughs happening, like just in the past couple of weeks.
Well, let's get back to that once if I can finish the
Yeah.
travel. So from the Meridian, I then jumped on the Emirates back to Istanbul, stopping in Dubai very quickly. And there they had rearranged my tickets. I was supposed to have like a 5-hour layover, and they rearranged it to have a 1-hour.
Whoa. That seems like bad for people
Well,
who needed the
and I was
time.
concerned about it. In Bangkok Airport, I said, you really think this makes sense? I know Dubai Airport pretty well, and I mean, how am I going to get? What if the plane's late, and how am I going to get from, the gate where I land to the gate where I need to take off? Oh, don't worry, sir. We'll handle that for you. Well, sure enough, I got off, and they, idiot,
That guy's
going the wrong way on a motorbike that's built for a clown. Anyway, so I
Dubai Airport.
I get off, and there's somebody there saying, "Sir, are you going to Istanbul?" Yes. They just take me right to the plane, no problem. They're right to the front of there's a security line. They just there are 5 of us. They whisked us all through. And anyway, I went to Istanbul, stayed there overnight, and got here last night. The plane, it's a 10-hour flight coming back because of headwinds, and I got, I was so happy. It was a half an hour early. I thought, this is freaking amazing. So we pull up to this disaster Terminal 1 and 2, which, compared to the
Kennedy?
stuff. Yeah, compared to what I saw over on my trip, I mean, it's an embarrassment. You might as well just have the plane land on, a highway somewhere, It's more present, right. So we, of course, we're there early, so of course the gate's not ready, so of course we wait forever. And then we get off the plane, and the jetway is like, I don't know, made by Sears and Company in 1960. I mean, it's just.
I thought they were good in 1960.
Not 62 years later, they're not. Fully depreciated.
It was made,
right. Just everybody grumpy, and we come around. Come around the corner, expecting to continue down. Really.
That lady's just shoving a baby right into us. What was that?
No, that's probably the nanny making $65,000 a year.
Blocking people with this baby.
Right. Or maybe there's nothing in there. It's like the fake baby.
It's filled with rocks.
Right. So come around the corner, and the immigration guy in his uniform just arbitrarily puts ropes across both lines. Doesn't explain anything. Just stops the line from moving. We come out, eventually go downstairs. It's bedlam. There are hundreds of people in each of the U.S. citizen line and the foreign citizen line trying to get through, and there are like 5 or 10 people working behind the booths. Of course, nobody's making any progress. And in my line, there's a new flight from New Zealand, which must be bare to be on like 16, 17 hours or something.
Well, they have the 350 long range or whatever, extended range.
But it doesn't help, your human body.
No.
If you're up in the air for that long.
That's the thing, though. Those planes can travel far now.
Right. So there was a woman on the American citizen line. She had a big tattoo on her neck, And in New
Said
Zealand,
make good decisions.
and in New Zealand, yeah, it probably did say that in Maori. And this New Zealand,
open now.
hey, great, some low quality Chinese food and expensive wrapping.
So, tattoo neck.
The tattoo neck spies. She's on the phone yakking to a whole bunch of people, and she says, "I can't believe this." I won't try to do her accent. I'm paying a limousine car, $25 for every 15 minutes of waiting time to pick me up.
Oh.
I've been here for an hour and a half. The thing isn't moving. I don't know how long it's going to go. She's bitching to every stranger on the line. Finally decides it's a good idea to take her issues up with one of these Homeland Security people
Great.
who happened to be African American, and she, in this like horrible accent, she starts yelling at him and saying, I came here from New Zealand, and this is worse than fucking India. It's like,
Nice.
I didn't check to see what happened to her.
Oh, God.
So, and then I come out into the terminal, and the escalators are broken, and the elevator's slow moving, and everyone's surly. Yeah, Panera over there
But well, this is interesting because they just opened this down by.
on 8th Street.
Oh yeah, look at that. This used to be Japonica.
Oh no,
But
Japonica's.
but down there, but they crushed the whole building and built this giant thing.
That's right. This used to be actually Stromboli.
Well,
Pizzeria.
it was that whole. It was
Yeah.
the bowling alley, and in
That's
the
Stromboli.
ground floor was Stromboli and Japonica.
Well, and Stromboli pizza used to be my favorite.
Carrot juice in the sauce.
I know. I loved that.
That was the secret.
I know. It tasted great. But anyway, so that
Yeah,
just
you're
a
right. I
long,
missed that pizza place.
a long summary of what I did, but I didn't want to explain it while I was gone, but Turkey has some pretty serious repression of free speech issues, not to mention
Worse than America?
Far worse.
Wow.
Yeah, well, they have. Turkey has several. I think it's a PKK. Several serious insurrection groups. The Kurds want a piece of Turkey, and long simmering, bombs and
Everybody wants a
atrocities in
piece
both
of Turkey,
in
Charles.
both yeah, and, we have
Turkey
the
sandwiches,
Turkey president,
turkey meatloaf,
Turkey administration, Turkey sausage head.
turkey sloppy Joe. I hate all that stuff.
Yeah, me too. I don't like the sloppy Joe. We should do that.
It's a
for that
sandwich
poster, that
and a
poster.
dummy.
That's right. At least you get to eat the sandwich. I don't want to.
Yeah.
So anyway, I think out of concern that we were going to talk about various topics, and I didn't want people inside the country to know where I was and what I was saying. I didn't want to reveal my location. And thanks to the audience for letting me do that, and to you for cooperating with the logistics, because we had to pre-record and do the time zones and stuff like that a bunch of times, and I appreciate your willingness to do that at odd hours.
Oh, it was okay. For me, Sam Bankman-Fried could be incarcerated here, Charles. But actually, I want to thank the viewer sponsors who have allowed us to create a venue where we could even do that on subscribestar.com/crowdsourcethetruth and patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth and odyssey.com, which is really growing nicely. Thank you to all the viewers on Odyssey. Now, we're having a little bit of
production issue?
No, not a production issue, but it was just, I guess, cell phone network issue. It's back. I don't know, it's kind of slowing down oddly.
So I don't know which direction you want to go. If you want to go start with the poster and go that way, or you want to go, there's a topic we deferred.
Well, the reason why I selected that poster, because you were in flight last night, so we didn't get to have too much of a conversation about it. You had suggested the two Jakes. Maybe we'll explore that in the future. But I wanted to do this because there's been so much attention on this Elon jet issue, and I could tell right away there was something weird about it, but I don't like to comment on these things until I get a handle on exactly what's going on. And I mean, again, we always have these...
How rare that a commentator would want to understand what's going on before offering an opinion. You don't see that in the mainstream press.
Well, because I noticed that we just saw everybody, including Donnie O'Sullivan. Dopey Donnie, the leprechaun from CNN. And I'm calling him that not because he's Irish, because I looked up, well, it is partially because of that, but I've never said that about another Irish person. I say it about him because when I looked up the leprechaun, It's a
Fantasy.
legendary, like mythical creature that is getting into mischief.
Right. Oh yeah.
And that is Donnie. He's getting into mischief. He was connected to the Port of Charleston incident and has done a lot of reporting on the stupid Mario brothers. Yeah. And it's a confusing thing to figure out because there seems to be this kind of floating, they sometimes like to present themselves as adversaries and friends. It's difficult to know who is allied and who is, these people are definitely from out of town. Stopped. Not crossing the street. But everybody was making a big deal saying that Elon Musk is kicking off journalists for covering him.
Oh, God.
But it had to do with this kid, Jack Sweeney, who had been publishing, let's let that guy roll away or something.
Those people out of towners will be on our hide here.
So the point is this. Yes, the information about the location of a plane is public. The airplanes use essentially a three-dimensional version of GPS, which is called ADS-B. And this is a signal that's broadcast from the plane, and it's a public signal because obviously they're using it to prevent planes from crashing into each other and for people to be able to schedule flights and things like that. So that's why it's being published, but it is not published in such a way that you can link it to Elon Musk's jet easily. And what Sweeney did is he relied on... He what?
He did that, right?
Well, here's what he did. So there are websites like Flight Radar 24 and Flight Aware and things like that that also aggregate this information, but they are doing it with FAA approval and in cooperation with the FAA, and so they present it without the identifying information as far as like, this is Elon Musk's jet. There's a jet here at this time, so you don't crash into it, but you don't need to know that it's Elon Musk. So what has occurred is aviation enthusiasts and private pilots and things like that, anybody can buy one of these receivers to receive this ADS-B signal, but it's not the type of thing that the average person has.
Sure.
And so just like I've created Crowdsource the Truth, where we can aggregate information from thousands of people watching the show, there are aviation forums where people who own these things have put together sort of a crowdsource network that allows them to surmise from sharing all this data whose planes these are.
Crowdsource the jet.
Crowdsource the jet. So he's putting together a lot of different information that, yes, it is available publicly, but it is not consolidated into something that can help you track Elon Musk until this kid does it. And the worst part about it is, when it first happened, Elon Musk asked him to stop doing it. And we need to dig into this to find out if Elon Musk offered him money or if he asked for money. But they got into this negotiation where the kid basically asked for a Tesla or $50,000 or an internship at SpaceX. And then Elon Musk just decided that it felt weird to be paying to get the guy to stop doing this, which I agree with. It's basically an open invitation for the public to put all these kind of like blackmail challenges towards...
Crowdsource the blackmail.
Right. So what he did is he blocked the kid from Twitter, and then he was sharing the information on Mastodon. So my understanding is that journalists who were writing about this and sharing the Mastodon links, which were leading to the information about Elon Musk, were considered to be sharing the same information, and so they got blocked. And they made the thing that was crazy is, you know, Donnie O'Sullivan was all over CNN, like him getting blocked from Twitter for a day was like worse than the Spanish Inquisition, and they're like, oh, you know, they blocked me and blah, blah, blah. It's like, dude, where you been for the past 5 years? Exactly. This has been happening to everybody.
Right.
And he brought them back. Musk brought them back.
You shouldn't have done that.
And this leads me to my next point that I want to bring up to you, Charles, because we're now starting to see, in addition to the Twitter Files Part 6 that Matt Taibbi released with more details about the really troubling relationship between the FBI, the DHS, the CIA, and Twitter. In addition to that, we now have other people coming out with articles talking about other former FBI employees who are still employed at Twitter. And that was clear to me
Right.
because I have put in so many appeals to the @CSTheTruth permanent ban that have all been denied for different reasons, and Chris Boozy, Bot Sentinel, these things are still active on Twitter. So I think there's still quite a lot going on
We'll do a circuit and
that
come.
Musk doesn't understand. Let's enjoy the tree for a moment.
Sure.
It's a beautiful
It's
day,
the
Charles.
Hanukkah bush, isn't it?
It's an entertainment shrub, I thought you decided. But we still have large numbers of CIA, FBI, various people working at Twitter.
Well,
And the Mastodon thing,
yeah.
they're trying to counteract.
Right. So a couple of observations I would have. First, Twitter and platforms like Twitter. I'm not a real video game enthusiast, though I did play video games in the early '80s when they were obviously nowhere near as sophisticated as they are today. But I think what these people like Sam Bankman-Fried and Jim Baker and the idiots who were fired at Twitter and some who still remain at Twitter all believe it's okay to have a game where you tell people the rules are X, Y, and Z, but you hide from the consuming public the fact that there are workarounds to those rules, that there are super users who have privileges who don't have to respect the rules, and that the purpose of the game has nothing to do with the game, that it's a surveillance tool, it's a opinion molding exercise, and the starting point. I mean, I would understand the U.S. government using a tool like Twitter to try to figure out what's going on outside our borders. That I understand. I'm not sure I agree with it. I think there are risks, huge risks associated with it, because of course any sensible person outside the borders would say, why are you using this American tool? It's clearly being used to surveil you. I do not accept the rationale that any team, especially the team of doddering bumbleheads, put it charitably, who work inside the FBI and at Twitter, that any team can in real time sift through the many 100 million tweets.
Well, let's talk about that.
Right. Even using AI.
It's not that they're using AI, and it comes back to AI. This Chat GPT. 5 years ago we had social engineering idiots telling us, "Oh, this is chatbots." I don't think AI was remotely close to capable to doing that 5 years ago. This new Chat GPT is doing things that are significantly different, but
I just want to get us over on this side, because to your right there is that's the underworld. Let's move there to your right. And I just
where do you want to go?
Well, let's go on this side
Sure.
of it so that they can't say we're photographing them. But I was through here this afternoon early, and there was one guy, I don't see him there now, who was saying, I do whatever the fuck I want to do. I do what I fucking want to do, and nobody's going to fucking tell me what to do.
That was only one guy?
Yeah, but I mean, he was lecturing everybody else in there. And now you look at this team, they're obviously, what are they up to?
Everybody here is smoking crack, Charles. I'm serious. That woman was just lighting crack.
Right, and this is where I grew up. This is you talk about the greatest city in the world. This is a crack den of people falling down at nearly 4 o'clock in the afternoon on a Sunday. I don't think they spent much time in church or temple or a mosque this weekend.
Well, it's Hanukkah. They're getting ready. They're lighting the menorah. Only enough crack to last for one night, but the miracle of Hanukkah, Charles.
Yeah, a crack pipe in every kitchen.
Judah Maccabee made that crack pipe burn for 8 days. And so now we celebrate Hanukkah.
What we call
at the White House.
That's right, on crack with Hanukkah. But so back though on the question of Twitter, we're hearing now that, and Matt Taibbi's point, he had a back and forth, I don't know if you saw it, with Ted Lieu, who's a monumental buffoon. Let's go to the left.
He's freaking out.
Lieu was trying to say it's irresponsible what Taibbi's doing, and Taibbi said, listen, in so many words, he did it much more politely than I'm about to do. He basically said, fuck off. You're monitoring Twitter, they do the FBI does important work through Twitter. Okay, how much money do they spend? Does the U.S. taxpayer spend on having people work inside Twitter? And what exactly are these FBI agents doing? And why aren't you going after child sex predators and human trafficking?
Well, and what about Ed Buck and his relationship with Ed Buck that we're not talking about? The thing that I forgot to mention is that, crap, and I just forgot it again.
Wait a minute. It sound like Joe Biden on a good day.
So the point is, they're social engineering Musk is what I'm getting at. This kid writing the software to aggregate all this data. See, this is what I wanted to get to. In all my research of Judge Valerie Caproni, who's presiding over my case where Adam Sharp, I allege, has brought it for an improper purpose, I have now found another lecture that she gave in 2005. If people go on to C-SPAN and search for Valerie Caproni, she's speaking now as far back as 2005 about how the FBI needs to have new capabilities to search your electronic stuff.
No.
Well, that's what she's arguing for. And my point is, these guys...
Well, it's the oldest, and the illegal search and seizure was one of the very important things that cheesed off the people who created this country.
Valerie Caproni is the enemy of the Fourth Amendment and the First Amendment, and she spends many, many years giving lectures and acting. She's the general counsel of the FBI, and I've also learned. She at the time that she's giving this speech, I'm saying she is. Yeah. She's telling everybody about how these national security letters are so important and how it's for counterintelligence investigations, not criminal investigations. Again, trying to convince people that you shouldn't be worried about it. But what I'm saying is, she's laying out the recipe for exactly what would be done to Trump via Twitter. By saying that it was a national security investigation, they're able to do all this stuff. So I'm saying all of these people are clearly involved. And so when Elon Musk starts doing things to expose this, the story is, he's kicking off journalists, and now Europe is going to ban Twitter, and they're just putting so much pressure on Musk. What Caproni was talking about is the need to create these individually tailored solutions to the target. And the thing that's so crazy, Charles, is that I've been saying that for 5 years, that's their number one skill. They have one plan for Charles Ortel, a different plan for Jason Goodman, a different plan for Elon Musk, a different plan for Donald Trump, and they are very good at putting together these complicated, targeted efforts to screw you up, no matter who you are.
Right, well, let's start on national security. I mean, where in the Constitution does it talk about the national security being...
Doesn't.
It does, I understand. So how do we, this idea that these droids are not the ones you're looking for. It's
Jedi mind trick.
There needs to be, I didn't finish one important point about the travel. So, and it has to do with national security. Don't you fucking dare talk to me about national security being a priority when the border is open.
Exactly.
I mean, just don't even talk. I don't want to hear
You just said the most important thing. Because Caproni is arguing about this need to invade your privacy to get more evidence, and what I see is, I put empirical evidence in front of this woman's face, and she denies it. They don't need more evidence. We need actual law enforcement and actual investigations. How have I been able to figure out everything these assholes are doing without any national security letters, and they're the FBI?
Because you have more than half a brain, and they don't.
It's really a big issue, Charles. It's unbelievable.
And this whole national security, when we think about motives, human motives, people have at heart, most people want to be able to pay their bills. And when they hear about an opportunity to line their pockets and make a lot of money, like a Jim Comey. And Jim Comey is, frankly, I think he's one of the most unprincipled, unqualified people ever to serve in the legal profession. He's a disgrace to this country, a disgrace to the founding fathers. He's an arrogant prick bastard.
And a communist.
And he lives in a fucking mansion. And he has, made a whole ton of ton of money. Who knows serving which master, but it's not the people of the United States of America.
Higher loyalty he talks about in his book.
It's to himself and his family probably. But this fucking asshole should have been read out of the legal profession a long time ago. And instead, the legal profession is, in the old days, if you were a good student and you got into law school and you passed the bar, you were assured a comfortable livelihood. In the old days, you go either as a sole practitioner if you want to go that route, or you would go kill yourself for 8 years to become a partner, and then finish killing yourself in the ensuing 30 to 40 years or whatever, and be really boring your whole life, but you make a lot of money. But now the tack is, you don't have to do any of that. You find some idiot like Biden, or B-Rock, or George W. Bush, so we're not just picking on Democrats, and you get hooked on their campaigns early on. Like at Yale, I tell that story about Jimmy Carter coming to breakfast and nobody wanted to have breakfast with him. Well, there was a woman in my class who said, you know what, this guy might be president of the United States. I'm going to actually show him around. And
how did she know that?
Well, she got lucky.
That's Jimmy Carter's CR1.
Yeah, right. And she ended up she was early on his campaign, so she ended up in a very senior role in the campaign and in the White House in her early 20s. I forget her name now. But
very distracted by the ZR1.
Yeah, I noticed. But so now the game is, fuck all this hard work and knowing the law and all that. We're going to get involved in a game where the public thinks, the government's playing by the rules.
Sorry, you got a lot of wind. Let me just...
Sure, sorry.
Let's see if I can adjust this somehow. It's hard with gloves.
So you want me to do it?
No, I got it. Okay, let's try that.
So the public thinks there are rules, that there are laws and regulations, and the government enforces them even handily. Thought that they did that. You want to go down 8th, or you want to go over to Astor Place, maybe?
Yeah.
And so, but that's not really the case. We now see that there's one set of rules. I mean, it's just crystal clear with the Clintons, for example. As Jim Jordan said back in the Meadows hearing, there's no way that Cheryl Mills got her door kicked in.
Right.
I mean, she got an immunity deal before she testified in connection with the supposed email investigation that never really happened, as far as I can tell. So there's that standard for the Clintons and the people around the Clintons. Might go to your left here, Jason. And there's another standard for people like that. And
this is the standard for me, where it doesn't matter what the facts are. You're getting sanctioned, and we're draining all your money.
Right.
And by the way, if you mention this email address, we could put you in jail.
Right.
I mean, it's such a criminal racket.
Right. And when I think about my trip, I think about somebody was telling me vignettes about Singapore, that the rules on corruption are very tightly enforced there, and so they're able to keep their tax rates low and the cost of government low, because if you start stealing from the government,
they land on you. If you eat a sandwich on the subway, it's $10,000.
That's right. And minor offenses, and you lose 60 pounds the hard way. They cut your leg off. That's actually Saudi Arabia. Yeah. But and I'm not advocating cruel and unusual punishment, but on the other hand, when we look at how big government has gotten, how absurdly expensive it's gotten, and then in my tirade at the airport yesterday, when I began to get increasingly pissed off, I was through security. I knew they couldn't get me, and I saw this woman with some kind of airport uniform pushing a wheelchair. We both were waiting for an elevator, and I looked at her and I said, you know what? I just got to tell you something. This airport is pathetic. She said, I know. and she said, I said, the situation in clearing customs is absurd. She said, I know. The problem is we need more resources. And I said, no, you don't.
You need to actually do
your
job.
You need to tell us what happened to all the resources you already got.
Right.
They don't need more resources. But that's the standard line. Oh, I'm sorry, I couldn't do that. I need more resources.
We see it everywhere, Charles. These idiots working at the park, nobody wants to do anything, and they think they're entitled to $30 an hour for doing nothing.
Well, more than that, not $30 an hour. They want a deal where they get a paycheck, they don't go to work, and they can on the side be a consultant to some private security firm that's going to get a new contract, and they'll get founder stock in that bitch, and suddenly they're worth $50 million, $100 million, $200 million for doing sweet fuck all.
And that is everything out of business.
This is progress, Jason. Again, this is reducing the carbon footprint of the city. I mean, you don't need another restaurant in New York, right? This used to be...
what was Johnny Rockets at one time.
I was going to say, the Indian kitchen idea is probably not going to work.
But this is like NYU. Oh, well, that's why, because there's probably less students because everybody's just watching it on TV. And nobody to eat at the Indian
Here we
restaurant.
have a nice outdoorsman.
Wow.
Preparing his...
But, I mean, there is a different kind of temperament on the street because it is too cold to be out here right now stationary for like an hour or two. I mean, we're walking, but I am feeling a little bit cold.
Well, on my errand, I took the subway I walked past the subway, I should say, on 8th Street, Waverly Place and 6th Avenue. This morning, I noticed 2 tents. Like actual tents.
You need to relax. You're too tense. This chicken smells excellent.
We can end the broadcast. And
I had lunch before we. But it smells good.
These were elaborate affairs with, like, in one case there was a wheelchair and all sorts of, and there were people inside. I don't know how many people inside each tent. And this was at like 10:30 in the morning on a Sunday, and it would seem to me, that in addition to having rat patrol, which we certainly need. That you would have tent patrol. You just said, we're not going to have a tent city. We're not going to say to people, you over here, you pay your property taxes to live in the city, but come from around the world and just pitch a tent. Take a crap on the sidewalk. Nobody cares.
Yeah.
You got to stop that in the
bud. Are they crapping in the tent? Or
I didn't get into those kind of. I didn't ask for. Tent. I didn't say, I came for the 10:30 seating at your poopathon.
Yeah. You got to bring your own tent.
Just walk by. But it is so to you and to me and to people and our viewers who have been watching, in particular the walk rounds from March 2020 to the present. It is so clear that America is on a downward trajectory, a steep slope down. It's a mogul field with ice in it, and in contrast, in Thailand has got issues in portions of it, but in the more developed Malaysia and nice parts of Thailand.
Look at this.
Another one.
This is like a hardened.
You want in?
This is a hardened residence right here.
Hi, we're from the New York City Zoning Commission. Let's see. I don't want to get in there.
I don't know. That's the whole thing.
They might shoot you. You're invading this.
Cardboard house.
Remember the woman, who's a BLM woman who bitched and moaned when Candace Owens showed up, like 7 months pregnant, to her house to ask questions, and she tried to sob tearfully, Candace Owens nearly assaulted me in my own home. And unfortunately, Candace had the whole thing on film, so she didn't go into the home, she didn't assault anybody.
But that's just it. Everybody. So Taylor Lorenz now has been blocked from Twitter, and everyone's like, oh.
Put her on the Disinformation Governance Board.
She was.
I know.
Not the board, but she was, I'm convinced, a contractor to that. So you were talking before about this growing number of FBI agents.
Right.
That Matt Taibbi drop was talking about this thing called the Foreign Influence Task Force, the FITF, and all of these frequent communications between Yoel Roth and this Elvis Chan, who's wishing him Merry Christmas. Hang on a second, Charles.
Yeah.
Speak up a bit.
Yeah.
Yoel Roth is meeting with the FBI and getting these holiday greetings from the guy and everything.
No, it's ridiculous.
It's a very familiar relationship, but...
Well, I think it's a lot similar to what the same sort of stuff was going on with our mutual friend Shelby Halliday when she was in the Wall Street Journal and approached, let's go to the right here for a second.
But what I'm saying is it's not 80 FBI agents doing this. It's 80 FBI agents.
Idiot.
That guy just crashed right into you.
I know. It was like my fault.
So the question is this, Charles, because I've never worked for a big company with like regional sales managers and this and that. How many people could 80 people manage? Is each one of them overseeing 100 people? Do we have 8,000 people doing this? Do we have 80,000 people doing this?
It depends how many contractors they're using.
But there's a lot, and it's the stupid Mario Brothers.
No, it's preposterous to have in Musk said, according to Barry Weiss, and we'll see if her reporting is corroborated or not, Musk claims that he paid twice as much as Twitter was worth, and that he's fired 80% of Twitter. 80. Now, I mean, I don't want to, these guys are drunk, I think, or high, or both.
Is that Elon Musk?
No, orange is the new black. So he's claiming, Musk is claiming that the place is just a shit show, that nobody cares about profit, and nobody's actually working.
That's right.
And I'm like, dude, you bought it. Not only did you buy it, you raised money from third parties.
They're looking for more investment now, or something.
I know.
Seems like a pretty bad investment.
Yeah, I don't understand that at all, and I don't understand that. I would turn down the assignment if I were back in banking. There's no way I'm going to try to go out for more money.
Well, and Tesla's lost 57% of its value.
Well, and you've only owned the thing for a short period of time, so before you thought it was a great deal. Let's look at the prospectus for your previous fundraising, and now you need more money? I mean, and you said the place is completely out of control. How is it in control if you're not spending 100% of your time there? I mean, there's just all sorts of obvious questions. But back on the FBI being involved in that, and Shelby Halliday having these informal meetings with the press officer of the FBI. I mean, and then we see these data dumps in the FBI vault file. Like,
she's so stupid. She's like, has the FBI called you later? It's like, Charles, I'll see you at your surprise party later.
That's right.
Hey, Shelby, shut up.
She said that a bunch of times, actually.
She's so stupid.
Yeah. But she was, in her late 20s, early 30s, or whatever.
She was 30s.
Whatever, but the point is that she was riding high. She's on MSNBC. She's on Wall Street Journal. She had been in New York One as an anchor or whatever. She thought, she thought she had the whole thing locked, and maybe she did at the time. But the notion that we're going to have the FBI not see problems like the Tsarnaev brothers, not see the epidemic in charity fraud that's not simply Clinton Foundation but spread across the world. And most of these charities that operate outside their home country need to be investigated. Any large educational institution that is paying its professors and presidents and administrators a lot of money, they need to be investigated as well.
Yeah.
And they're not doing that. Instead, they're hanging around in Silicon Valley,
getting jobs.
And then after that, getting probably well paid on paper. They probably got stock options.
Right.
We don't have the light.
Well, that article you sent me was talking, or maybe that was the one that I found after you sent it to me. They're talking about how it was a regular conversation around the FBI about what they're going to do to make money when they leave.
It's crazy.
So they spend 10 or 20 years in there figuring out how things can go wrong and how you can get arrested, and then they're like, hey, why don't you hire me for your company and I'll prevent you from getting jammed up by the FBI. It's a racket.
That's the white-collar criminal defense stuff as well.
Oh, that was Valerie Caprone's specialty after she left the SEC.
Right.
She was the head of white-collar criminal defense at Thatcher. What's it called?
Simpson Thatcher.
Right.
Well, so yeah, it's like the old mafia days, Nice story you have. You'd sure hate to see that plate glass window get broken.
She made the laws, and then she went and got paid helping people get around the laws. Not to mention, they also spoke extensively about how these Silicon Valley companies enjoyed hiring the ex-FBI, ex-CIA, because it gave them clout with these agencies.
It's across the spectrum. I mean, GE did the same thing. When I had that initial meeting before I went public, blasting GE with a top law firm, one of the know-it-all lawyers, the managing partner, told him to shut the fuck up. Because he was really making no sense. He said that nobody's going to go after GE because they store all of the government's most important secrets and have done so for a long time. That's what the guy alleged. And therefore, nobody in the SEC or DOJ would ever or IRS would ever go after GE. And I looked at this guy and I was like just shaking my head, and that's when the managing partner just said, shut the fuck up and let Charles talk.
Wow, I'm surprised there's not more activity here at the historic...
It's closed.
Yeah, why is that? Closed.
It's Hanukkah, Jason.
They're closed for Hanukkah, yeah. The pious weed world.
Right next to.
They're davening.
Is that the Jewish star there, Funky Town, or is that a different star?
Barcade?
Right there. East Village, you see it? Is that this?
No. That's a pentagram.
Is it pentagram? Okay. That's 5? 1, 2. Yeah, I guess you're right.
That's a crazy place.
Yeah, you think on Astor Place?
So Charles, I don't know. I mean, hopefully. Well, we also have to talk about how Trump said that people should stop arguing about McCarthy and let him win. I don't know why he said that, but I guess McCarthy's going to win.
I guess. I mean, I am unimpressed with McCarthy. I'm unimpressed with McConnell. I'm unimpressed with most of the people. I'm unimpressed with the game in Washington D.C. I think it's just that. I mean, they possession's 9/10 of the law. They let the crooked insiders steal as much as they can steal. And they like it when dynastic political families get their piece of the pie or get their whole pie. What?
Look at this.
You don't like this?
You don't want to lease that?
Well, I like the style. It's modern garbage. It's not only garbage adjacent, it's redolent with garbage.
This
Any
townhouse,
rat
Charles, it's been redone in an early napalm style.
It's got graffiti, it's got a pentagram, it's got 666.
No, this is ideal for any sort of crack den or murder palace that you might want to place here.
It's the kind of place you want your teenage daughter to live.
Right.
You get your nose ring nearby and then shoot up on some fentanyl and crack and then go into that place.
Unbelievable.
And this is also nice here. This is a nice style, this is modern art. This is done by people who don't know how to draw, don't know how to paint.
This is just a disaster.
It appears to be closed. Oh, there's people inside.
Holy cow, but it's closed. So we're looking at maybe McCarthy, but they're saying they're going to do these. The thing that he said, which, I mean, it's probably lip service, but he was talking about the church committee hearings and saying that we need a new round of those. And it's really interesting because, one of the first questions that came to my mind when I started being exposed to all these people who I'm now realizing were, or at least evidence is causing me to believe they were so pivotally involved in the FBI infiltrating Twitter. One of the first questions I asked was, isn't it a weird coincidence that Roger Sharp is reporting from inside the Dallas police station on November 22nd, 1963. I mean, sure, there were reporters there, so maybe it's a coincidence, but we know now.
Right.
William Colby told Frank Church in the church committee hearings that the CIA had a program called Operation Mockingbird where they were paying and otherwise influencing journalists to control the news.
Right.
And I simply asked, was Roger Sharp a part of Operation Mockingbird? And his asshole son went crazy. And, part of what they were trying to do with this lawsuit was prevent me from being able to speak about any of this. Now, I think Valerie Caproni realized that you can't do that. You can't do prior restraint of telling somebody that they cannot talk about a broad range of things. But it speaks to what their purpose was in doing this lawsuit. And Charles, these people are so embedded. And I'm not saying that they're only in Twitter. I'm just saying this is the only instance where I have direct evidence of people doing this.
Right. Well, I mean, if you learn that you find out that your sport, tennis, is rigged, but you like playing it, and you reach a conclusion at a certain point, you say, well, I like playing it, so I'll get on the side that gets to break the rules, and I'll keep playing. That's what some people will do.
I think a lot of people do that.
Yeah, whereas I say, fuck this, I'm not playing tennis anymore, if that's the way it works. It's
a game. I'm going to destroy the tennis association.
Right. It's a game, if you're not having fun. It's the first thing I remember my parents saying to me, actually, not the first thing, but one of the things they said, if you're playing a game and you get tired of it and it's not fun, there are other games you could play, right? Here you go, sushi class, this is new, I think.
The fish is open.
This probably is pretty good.
Oh yeah, that does look good. Fish market and sushi class.
Huh. Right next to the Northwell.
But this looks fine.
I don't know. buy your fish where people next door to you are being operated or not. Don't worry about the blood dripping.
They
Unfortunately, I think my friend lost his St. Mark's Theater. It
Really?
looks dark. It looks dark to me.
Oh no.
Yeah, I hope that's not the case, but it seemed like a pretty grim track he was on. That some hedge fund sharks had bought his debt, and that really is sad.
He was getting lawfared as well, it sounded like.
Yeah, it's a sad story.
Charles, we're in a disaster here.
Again, it's like if you can't, if you hear back on tennis, if you want to be a really good tennis player as a kid, you have got to play tennis in the northeastern winter. And ideally outdoors, and you can't do that. So you've got to go to Florida or someplace that has weather where you can play. I think what we learned about New York City, is that this is not a business-friendly environment. It never will be. There are too many retired communist socialists. There's too much crime. There's no inclination to turn this into a safe place anymore, or a safe space. It's quite the opposite. Bring us your criminals. They're flooding in. They're massing at the border. Donald Trump's Title 42 or whatever that thing is going to expire imminently.
Yeah, like this week.
The 21st, I think, yeah. And so the people are getting ready to flood the zone. And it wasn't working before the flood. It's going to get worse.
I was watching Bob Bishop's YouTube channel, and him and George are still covering that.
George Fernandez, is it? George?
But that's not his last name. It's El Conservador. I'm forgetting his last name, but yeah, that's the guy. They're covering that migrant center, and what's happening now is they're getting really aggressive. Oh, wow, look, you're right, Charles. The migrants are getting really aggressive, and they're like almost getting into fights and stuff. And
Almost, yeah.
But like, they're not really made for fighting. I'm not saying that I am either, but like, it seems dangerous for them. You're right, Charles, this looks pretty darn closed.
Sorry. This was a labor of love for this family for generations, and it just looks derelict now.
Is the door locked? It is. Wow. Oh yeah, it's definitely closed.
Sad. Totally sad.
People are really getting a first-hand look, including us, at the gradual deterioration of New York City, and nobody's doing anything about it, or except helping it go to hell in a handbasket.
Yeah, look at this. Is this your idea of a first world country?
No.
McDonald's is flourishing, everything else is falling apart.
It's a disaster.
Let's go down this way a little bit more. Circle back, as they say, as Jen Psaki used to say. Bless her heart. We got to circle back.
She went to the Greenwich Country Day School with Adam Sharp. And I wonder if he has any role in helping her get a gig on MSNBC. He is the president and CEO of the Emmys. He would have a lot of influence over media. Yeah. Certainly Donnie O'Sullivan was nominated for an Emmy. I bet you he'll win one if he keeps reporting.
I gotta believe if you're in the mainstream press and you win an Emmy, that you're most of these people have contracts.
You earn a lot more money once you've won an Emmy.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. So by having Sharp sit on top of that, that's a legacy, almost like a legacy organ that back in the day, before you had the internet, where people like me could just pop up a show and do thousands of episodes. Which way you want to go?
We'll go that way.
We could
pop up a show, Jason?
I'm saying do thousands and thousands of shows at such a cost competitive way.
Right.
When you just had the Emmys awarding the limited number of dopes, you could pretty easily control what was being spoken about. People who say what you want get Emmys, and people who don't get fired.
Exactly. And not to mention Pulitzers. You saw that Trump is suing the Pulitzer board for giving the prize to people who basically defamed him. And on the subject of stories, I'm loving, how you meet somebody who starts telling you a tale that's just really, you should call bullshit on it right away, and the extent you don't, the guy says, all right, he bought that, let's see if we'll try this. So Biden apparently has said that he pinned that Barack Obama told him that it would be appropriate to have his uncle get a
Well,
Purple
because he
Heart.
got a Purple Heart in the Battle of the Bulge, but he never received it. Got lost in the mail or something.
So yeah, and so this long, elaborate story, and that he pinned the medal in the White House on this guy, who died in. One of them died in '99, one died in 2002.
Yeah.
And Biden's going on how they're both at the medal pinning ceremony. Joey, you got to do this. Joey, you got to do that. And it was, I mean, if you, let's just 1 second. Oh, sure. I'm sorry, I got
Totally
in your way.
not
Yeah,
looking
sorry,
at
I was
all.
in your way. Texting is really important.
This is going to
Very
trip over
important.
a cinder block.
I've got an appointment with, it's probably Sam Bankman-Fried's mother. But, an ordinary person, Trump said, not Trump, but an ordinary person in a courtroom or in a deposition gets something a little wrong, and you're in serious trouble. Joey Biden can get up there and talk about pinning a Purple Heart on somebody
thank you
who's
for
dead.
bringing that up, because in my, when Valerie Caproni forced me to testify pro se because my lawyer had been harassed until he withdrew, I mistakenly said that something was said in a deposition,
Right.
when in fact it was said in a public hearing. And even now, Sharp's lawyers are saying, Goodman says that this thing was in a deposition, which is also confidential. It doesn't matter what I said. What matters are the facts. I spoke incorrectly.
Right.
I remembered incorrectly, but when I reviewed the facts, they want to deny facts. So this is something else important, Charles, that I think people need to consider when we realize that it's lawyers who have taken over the FBI, and it's lawyers who have decided to attack the First Amendment and the Fourth Amendment.
It's double L's, Jason. Lying lawyers.
Yeah, but this is Joe Biden. Boy, what a beautiful sky, Charles.
Well, not the best. The sky's
Look
nice.
at it on camera, though.
No, I'm sure it's a nice shot, but look at what you're looking at. You're
I'm
looking
the
at
blown-out church.
blown
Why
out
haven't
church.
they fixed this?
What does Zonek crap mean?
I'm looking at that too. Zone K crap. That's weird.
We are in the East Village.
Here's what I wanted to say, Charles. And you and I were discussing this earlier. This is an essential problem with lawyers that I have figured out.
They exist.
Well, let's assume there is a question to which the answer is 100.
Right.
Like maybe you have 100 shares or whatever. And some lawyer says, well, I don't like that. I want Charles to have 0. And they just put in the argument that it's 0. And you're like, what?
Yeah.
It's not 0, it's 100. But from their standpoint, they're going to negotiate that. I mean, maybe if they get you to 99, you don't care.
Yeah, but you see, But
Once you start getting to 70, 50, 30, it's like, wait a minute, what the hell is going on? And lawyers know that simply by raising the argument that your 100 is actually 0, they've got a good chance of working it down.
Yeah, that's. I think you're making a good sort of a good analysis, but that illustrates also most lawyers are not good with numbers. If you started down that track with a numbers person, they would dismiss the argument out of hand. I'm not going to discuss this. It's just a no debate.
I mean, I didn't mean to tie it to a number. I'm just saying if you say I've got the First Amendment, they say there is no First Amendment.
But I'm glad you did say it with a number, because I think you're absolutely right in that example. And again, this gets back to it's an inside game. To play it, you have to be a lawyer.
Right.
You can't get fired if you're a lawyer. You're not going to get disbarred if you're a lawyer. Besides, I know the judge.
Yes.
I can get you, Mr. Government Hack Preparara, out of the USDA, U.S. Attorney in the Southern District of New York. I can get you
Make you a judge.
Well, a multi-million-dollar partner first, so you can afford to be a judge. And the very people who in Congress are constantly saying, Congress needs to regulate this, Congress needs to regulate that. They don't want to be regulated themselves. And by the way, people in Congress aren't regulated because most of the election districts in the United States are gerrymandered to the point where the incumbent, more often than not, wins.
Right.
So what we have, I think, we have a series of bubbles that have grown to ginormous proportions, the worst excesses of which are in the public sector. Public sector unions have pushed up the cost of government to absurd levels. Public sector unions have dictated that you can't fire people. And then the people who play the game, the corporate donors, the crony donors, understand that they can make, particularly now with interest rates still relatively low, they can turn their relationships with politicians into no-bid contracts that inflate the value of companies they own, and then sell those companies either to the public or in a trade sale. So the grift is just monumental, and we're putting up with it.
Did I tell you that Valerie Caproni was, after much protesting, compelled to recuse herself as the judge in the case with that Michael Caine's New York teachers they were suing?
Oh, really?
So they made her get off of the case because they found out that she had a $100,000 investment in Pfizer.
Yeah.
Now,
how did she have that much money?
well, I mean, she was a lawyer with like
fair-
Northrop Grumman for a long time. I mean, you know, she's made her stack. The point is, if you're going to become a U.S. District Court judge such that you can never be sued and you have all these, you know, you have that job for the rest of your life, you should be barred from owning any stock at all, because the number of combinations of things that could happen, like in other words, there was another case that she was the judge in where this guy, David Jaffe, this is crazy.
He was in Epstein or something, right?
King Spalding, he was an associate at King and Spalding, where FBI Director Wray is a partner, and there's a big controversy that he received like $12 million from them up until 2017 or something like that. But the point is, this guy Jaffe, he's a lawyer in there, and he raises an issue that there's some sort of ethical breach with regard to what King and Spalding is doing for their client that is a Chinese telecom company. And Caproni would not allow a juror because the juror was unvaccinated.
Jesus.
And then Jaffe lost. The jury decided against him. So my thing is, that is another instance of Valerie Caproni doing something that is prejudicial toward Pfizer. She wants to make it so that if you don't have a product that's going to make her stock go up, you can't participate in a jury. And when I went to jury duty at the Southern District of New York, they showed us a whole big movie about how being on a jury is more important than voting for president. So Valerie Caproni is all about denying everybody their rights while she goes around lying, denying empirical facts, getting involved with TWA 800 investigations and trampling the Fourth Amendment, trampling the First Amendment.
And she can't be removed easily either.
She can't be removed easily. She can't be sued. So even if I'm able to prove that she has violated my First Amendment rights and my right to a fair trial and her oath as a judge, and that she's conspired very probably with Adam Sharp and others, and that she's been conspiring with lots of people to get the FBI into Twitter and elsewhere, even if I could prove that, I can't sue her.
Right.
You cannot sue a federal judge. So we need a total reevaluation of who is in charge of all this kind of
checks
stuff.
And balances, perhaps?
Yes.
Was that contemplated by the Constitution?
Well, isn't that also what we're supposed to be doing as journalists? And when they're all on board with these criminal operations, and Twitter is this captured asset, I mean, this is so much more serious than people have realized yet.
These are journo grifters. They're not journalists.
I agree.
The sun on the buildings there.
Yeah, it's a beautiful day, although it's very, very
in
cold.
In the declining neighborhood, yeah. So I would vote we go down 8th Street and maybe...
Yeah, we're getting close. I think you need to get to bed early tonight, kind of. It's good to have a walk like this after being on a plane
no,
so long.
I'm all in for it. I hope my jet
But it
lag
is cold.
will not crush me, but it is definitely cold.
And they have the Saturn Q. Oh, so let me tell you a little bit about this AI. So I downloaded this chat, GPT? Yeah. And it's very much like the Star Trek computer. You ask it questions, and
the one you have in your apartment?
But the thing is,
he's got a kid in the back seat.
Wow.
He cut off that van and thought that that just by signaling he was going to cut him off, that's okay.
He was on a bicycle. I didn't.
With a kid in the baby seat.
Very,
and
very
of course, a Columbia sweatshirt. And a distinguished graduate of Columbia.
So this chat GPT, it's made by OpenAI, and I want to understand OpenAI a little bit more because
is that loud?
That was loud. As I understand it, it's a foundation whose purpose is the study of artificial intelligence, which
Right.
seems like a good thing. And I'm pretty sure that Elon Musk was involved in founding it, but it has received a big investment from Microsoft. So I'm not sure what the deal is. But now that I've signed up for OpenAI, I was able to access their art generating thing, which is called DALL-E.
And you've got your garbage adjacent property here.
It's pretty fascinating, Charles, because you can type in there something like, give me a painting of Charles Ortel,
Please don't.
surrealist style.
Please don't do that.
In New York City, and it'll make all these images,
Really?
and it
Wow.
just comes up with some really,
Are the artists now
Bizarre.
going to revolt?
well, it is a big question about what this is going to do to artists, because people who aren't artists now can create interesting
There's hope for me.
things with this.
There's hope for me, isn't it?
But I said some things to it like, give me a picture of Joe Biden in jail.
And they wouldn't do it.
It wouldn't do it.
Really?
And I said, give me a picture of Elon Musk in jail, and it wouldn't do it.
Really?
And I said, give me a picture of Donald Trump in jail, and it wouldn't do that.
Wow.
So they're already regulating AI. Oh yeah, and I told you this. I want people to hear about this. So I'm writing up a whole...
Be careful on that. I know what you're going to tell me.
I'm going to be careful how I say it. I'm writing up a whole story about what happened outside of Twitter on November 1st. And Microsoft Word recently added a dictation tool. So you can speak to it, and I'm explaining what happened. And people who saw the video on subscribestar.com/crowdsourcethetruth and patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth know that the woman who was yelling at me and harassing me was saying a lot of things and using a lot of foul words, including the F word.
Freedom?
A disparagement for our friends in the LGBTQ community. She called me an F word.
Really?
And so when I was saying that word to Microsoft Word to try to dictate it, it would not type that.
Really?
It just put asterisk, 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 asterisk. Wow. So even in the privacy of my own home, typing a document that is recounting a factual statement, Microsoft says that word is verboten. You're not even allowed to utter it. It's not going to be recorded. It's not going to be written.
And do you know what the catchphrase for that service is? Dictation for a dick nation.
Yeah, dictatortation. But Charles, what if I needed to write a story about a bundle of sticks and I was British? I'd be out of luck.
You would. You would indeed. And again, it's so silly that people would be imposing these type of controls and denigrating, maybe that's a difficult word to use, but I'll use it anyway, denigrating Thomas Jefferson, the author of the Virginia Statute on Religious Freedom, the author of the Declaration of Independence, and somebody who felt passionately about the importance of freedom of speech, having witnessed firsthand the excesses of a tyrant.
That's what we're seeing now.
Again, people in power don't want to hear, you're corrupt as fuck. You don't want to hear that, and so you don't want to have evidence of said corruption, circulate to the authorities. And the last thing you want to do is have the Department of Justice actually have the resources to go after politicians and their families who've been stealing at the trough for decades, and that explains their wealth.
But they're part of it. The Department of Justice is in on this.
Now it is, yeah.
Never had a boyfriend. Wait.
So the tyrants that you're speaking about, that is Valerie Caproni. She doesn't care about the law. She doesn't care about the Constitution. You can't do anything to her, and she's going to do anything she wants to you. You would look good in an M4, Charles.
Is that an M4?
I believe it is.
I'm more thinking of beach buggy, for my beach.
I can't see it, but I think that's an M4.
Yeah, I'm more interested in something that would be ride higher up and be good to go. And the BMWs everywhere, Jason.
X7.
A BMW in every pot.
Yeah,
and a vacant store on every corner.
Terrible.
I mean, this is 8th Street. It was an important.
I know.
This has been empty forever. This corner for some reason.
I think it's a very big space.
And across the way, this used to be CVS.
Right. There's a lot of CVS's closing because they stole everything out of there.
I shouldn't laugh.
I mean, if you need to buy any,
Why
drugstore
buy?
stuff.
I mean, it's just so racist to have to pay for things, Jason. I mean, come on.
Well,
And speaking of that, by the way, did you see the? I think I sent you something about the new president of Harvard.
oh yeah, he's corrupt. What was that?
It's a she,
Oh, she.
and she was apparently is alleged that she, in her role as some dean or something at Harvard prior to being named president, that she was involved whitewashing or impeding the bringing to justice of Epstein and Weinstein for corruptly getting involved at Harvard.
Whoa.
And also her scholarship is under suspicion. And again, when you see intolerance at a university, there's a serious problem, right? I mean, you do not want to have these bright minds. And I remember coming up in an environment with a lot of smart people around me. You take some 14-year-old, 15-year-old prodigy, and it's amazing what they will come up with, particularly in the arts or math or science or whatever. You want those
Sam
minds.
Bankman-Fried.
Yeah, well, I'm not saying that guy's a prodigy. I think he's just a clodigy. And honestly, his explanations would be pretty amusing to simulcast or to splice together Sam Bankman-Fried talking and a Barack Obama talking. I mean, I think you did put a clip in one of the. He was talking in some.
Oh, they heckle him?
Well, no, he was talking at some event. I think you put the clip in there.
Stanford Internet Observatory?
No. With there's a woman on the student, and he was saying about my daughter's in college.
Yeah,
with this
that's
person.
Stanford
Is that the Stanford?
Observatory.
Yeah, okay. And what he was saying was so boring and stupid.
Vapid, empty.
Right, but he was saying it with this. I'm going to say this like I'm reading the tablets that I found that Moses thought he got rid of, and it was just drivel.
Oh, wait. No, he had another one just a week or two ago.
That one.
That's the one where he's at the Obama Foundation
Right.
Summit.
Right.
And he's like, I'm watching my show.
Right.
And Blackish or whatever he said.
Stupidish.
Yeah.
And it's just.
But he's trying to speak to the black community, and that's not how he sounds when he's at the UN.
Well, again, it's just you need to have a sense. I mean, people who are trying to be at the frontier of knowledge need to assume that we don't know that much. That we've only been around as a civilization, modern civilization, for a short period of time. We can't even tell you how big the universe is, our scientists. We have no clue.
That girl was 12 smoking weed.
I don't think so.
She looked pretty young.
What's this?
It's a weed party.
NFT holiday market. There's a hooker.
I don't know.
This has just gone so far downhill this street.
But
But people who are out there, and a guy who'd been president of the United States for 8 years should have run into some rather impressive people and been intimidated and said, maybe I ought to not keep my pie hole perpetually open, uttering banalities. And then, speaking of people who shouldn't be talking, did you see that Dr. K is now saying, I won't do the accent, Kissinger, that it's now time to maybe stop World War III and just basically carve up Ukraine? And
I did hear him say or see a headline.
Zero Hedge.
No, it's
You're the
time
one who does
to
it well.
carve up Ukraine.
Why not?
Charles.
I'm hungry. Turkey. Let's go over here.
Oh, hey, it's you. You startled me.
Yeah,
How you
don't
doing?
come up behind
you
us
gotta,
like
you
that
gotta
on
shut
there.
down Bill Gates.
I don't know how to do it because you're constantly.
All right.
I was trying to catch up to you, but I just wanted to say hello. And
Okay.
I appreciate you guys.
Thanks.
tremendously.
All right.
I hope-
You
I
gotta
hope-
get
I hope-
warm,
I just
man.
hope we get more people because I feel like it's starting to come out. But like, what do we do with the information? Like, what do we do with it? Like, once we get it a serious audience, like thousands of people, like that actually start connecting.
Did you ever see that South Park with the underwear gnomes? Step 1, obtain underwear. Step 2, get rich. That was the plan.
I think that we just need to find ways like I don't know if you're aware of what Derek Rose is doing. This man in Mexico, and he's like in Austin, he ran for
Texas,
mayor.
yeah.
Yeah, he started this conscious resistance. He has two really cool things that are going on. One is the Freedom Cell network, where people are joining and connecting.
Right.
And it's like their own network of people that are like basically into permaculture, growing food,
Right.
And just getting off the grid and trying to be resilient
Right.
and block the powers that shouldn't be, like just basically abandon them, let them just destroy themselves, and hopefully we'll manage,
Yeah.
But there's people
Just got to
doing
keep
that.
on putting it out,
They're
man.
creating alternative currencies. There's so many solutions that I'm finding, and it's like nobody's like doing anything, like
Well,
running. I don't know, we got to figure out like how this woman Debbie. Do you know this woman Debbie L? She's from. I don't know where she's from, but she was really awesome. Like she about a week ago, I just found out like 2 days ago that she passed.
Oh boy.
I don't know what happened, but like she was one woman that they started going after her, like censoring her like big time. Like they took down all her videos, but
Well, this is happening all over the
She was talking about
place.
the corruption of Hillary and getting like all the parties like.
Let me just ask you. Let me just do this because we got to carry on with this broadcast, but we'll see you around.
Yeah,
I don't
this
know.
woman Debbie Luna, I think it's Lunasa is her name.
All right.
She was a great auditor, like just trying to bring everyone together to talk about the issues, and then start proceeding with a way to fund good.
Keep on doing it, man. We'll see you around.
Yeah,
Stay warm.
Thanks. Take care.
Look her up.
You got it.
We will.
I'm just
Yeah.
concerned about this guy saying something that's going to get us blocked.
We will. We will. Thanks.
He's become a little bit
Crazy.
overbearing.
Yeah.
Anyway, what were we talking about?
Your fly's open, dude. No, I mean.
Was it?
No, I'm just saying. It's a pity that people like that, when they get onto something, have to comport themselves in that way, because your reaction is he may be right.
He
but
means well,
yeah.
but
Remember,
I just am worried about him saying something that's going to be
right.
detrimental to the show
Don't
or the
worry.
channel.
But we're walking by vacant store after vacant store.
God, listen, we got to talk about it another time.
Yeah, we'll talk. We'll talk later.
End the conversation, please.
Was the same progressive.
Listen,
All right. All right.
that's
Okay.
good.
Good.
Thank you.
Same progressive.
We will. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks. We're just waiting. Thank you.
He's officially no longer a friend.
Right.
You got to know when enough is enough.
Right. Look her up. Yeah. Can I come back to your house? Can I live with you? No.
So
but
anyway,
look at this garbage everywhere. 8th
I know.
Street now in 6th. This used to be 40 years ago. This used to be just thriving.
it's
all
a wreck.
vacant. Thanks, Obama. There's a guy. Look over there. Can gathering,
Wow.
can foraging. It's just amazing. The tents. Do you want to check and see if the tents are still here, or you rather not?
I don't mind. Where was that?
Just one block down.
Yeah, let's do it. So this is a Serafina Express. It finally opened.
Yeah, this is where the person used to be living out front. Remember the guy who was always there
Yeah.
on the couch? He had like couches and.
Well, I think a lot of those people aren't going to be able to do that through the winter because,
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of them were kind of like no shirts on and stuff, and it's just way too freezing for that now.
It's down this way. Just want to make sure the guy's not there. He's just, I don't see him.
I don't know.
There's Santa Claus.
Oh, yeah.
See if this place, by the way, at night.
Oh, you're talking about the subway station by the old Staples.
Right, but here, I mean, this place just as it gets later, I'm generally not out too late. I mean, this is actually, I don't go out after dark.
It's starting to get to be time to go home, yeah.
Right, but this is I mean, across the street, all vacant.
Wow.
What's that say?
It
Boycott car exhaust.
says exhaust pipe,
Free what?
exhaust pipe, line, gasoline, buy coal or
But
something.
there's 3 stores in a row out. All these stores are out.
There's a weed
Even
store.
Starbucks is
That's
out.
new.
Starbucks is out.
If you're not selling weed, nobody's buying. Was this the spot, Charles?
Around to the left. And just see if the tents are still here. Yep.
Yeah,
See?
wow.
Nice, huh? We'll go up Waverly, and you want to go to 7th, I think, right?
Yeah.
And, actually, I went, just before I went on the trip, I stopped into this Waverly diner. Look at that idiot.
Very fast.
I mean, it's crazy.
They'll be mad if we say anything.
I mean, a grown person on a scooter, for starters, is pretty stupid. But beyond that, at that
On the
speed,
sidewalk.
on the sidewalks, and here's a guy in a wheelchair begging in front of the Waverly. They took down the whatever you call it, over this guy's going to stop.
Scaffolding?
Yeah, the scaffolding. Sorry. And
What the hell did that guy say?
hey, fellas, a couple dollars.
Oh,
Yeah, but this Waverly diner is actually kind of good.
it's been there forever.
I know, and it's not cheap anymore, but it's not hugely expensive either. But it's a good amount if you're hungry and you want to get it, fill your belly up quickly. That's the place to do it.
I think I've only eaten there once in all the time that I've lived here.
Had you been out late that night?
I was meeting somebody, I forget exactly.
Yeah, I noticed this on the way over here. Look at this here. I mean, we're standing here, right?
Uh-huh.
And you see that thing? Asbestos waste only.
Oh, yeah.
Now, the fact that we're over here, you think the asbestos is just saying, I'm not gonna sneak
airborne,
out of
isn't
there.
it?
Right, I know. I'm not gonna sneak out of that unit and kind of like create trouble outside the unit because I'm orderly asbestos.
Yeah.
It's
It's amazing that there's still, I remember being a little kid and seeing commercials about asbestos removal
right.
and call the lawyers if you,
I mean, asbestos used to be put in everything.
it's fireproof.
Yeah. But I mean, construction, it was like most of the
Injected into the
construction,
walls.
yeah, in the 60s and I think the TWA terminal at Kennedy was filled with asbestos.
I'm sure.
And it's like, they paid extra for it. Can I have some extra asbestos?
Yeah. With cheese.
That's right.
Asbestos is $2.
Is this your bestest asbestos?
Oh, asbestos, asbestos. I don't know. There's some sort of a problem. So when the chip runs out, I switch to this other phone, which is exactly as new as the previous phone, but it's jamming up on.
Well, we're almost done. I mean, we're gonna leave you right here, maybe.
I gotta figure out yet another problem
Well,
coming from some different.
Roseanne Rantanadana. It's not one thing; it's another, right?
Exactly.
So this that Jeffrey's over there, I think, is owned by Joseph Leonard's as well.
Why do you
Both
call
are
it Joseph's?
expensive, huh? Right there.
Oh yeah. Well, I don't know. Is this our departure point?
I think
Charles?
so,
All
and
right,
there's-
well, excellent show again, and welcome back, Charles. I know everybody is delighted to see you back safely in New York.
I'm delighted as well. I appreciate the opportunity. And there's Santa Claus again. He's everywhere. It's just
Oh,
like
yeah.
Santa Claus doesn't have to respect the light. It's just, I go across the street when I want.
Well, we'll see what happens tomorrow, and thanks for tuning in, everybody. Thanks to everybody who's been sponsoring the show. There's going to be a lot of exciting stuff coming out on subscribestar.com/crowdsourcethetruth and patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth and odyssey.com. So all of the viewer sponsors will have an opportunity to see all that. It's some sensitive material, so I'm going through it very carefully now, and I've got a lot of legal stuff to write, but thanks for tuning in.